Welcome to another exciting edition of Break Fake Rules. This is our little show where we talk about the fake rules in philanthropy and society that prevent us from getting social change. And, you know, like past episodes, we have one of the great rule breakers with us today, Mr. Marc Philpart from the Black Freedom Fund. Marc, thank you so much for joining us on this very special edition with you.
Thank you for having me, Glenn.
Yeah, you know, I've been thinking about this conversation for a little while. We have done some episodes this season forced on us by what's coming out of Washington, D.C. these days. And when you think about fake rules, it's interesting to see, it's not interesting to me, it's depressing to see how rules get created, how there are efforts made to restructure society, making some things against the rules. And we've seen what I think is they call it DEI that they're going after. I'm not exactly sure what they're going after. I don't know what DEI means to the people that are going after DEI, but what it means is that for organizations named the Black Freedom Fund, there's a risk there. And I have just been so impressed by the fact that I've never even heard you, Marc, say anything about changing websites, changing anything. You are moving forward. The fund is growing like it has not before. And I think it's just an incredible opportunity to have you on to talk about what the Black Freedom Fund is and what the context is in which we're all working and why it's so important. So why don't we start with, for those that don't already know, what is the Black Freedom Fund?
Thank you, Glenn. And I just want to say first, before I get into what is the Black Freedom Fund, that it's such a refreshing opportunity to be on a podcast named Break Fake Rules, because there are so many rules that and norms and ways of working that stifle us in this world, that really don't allow for the full expression of humanity and the full possibility of what we can be as a society. So this is really speaking to my inner self of, breaking fake rules and really kind of getting outside of those constraints. So I appreciate your leadership, your team's leadership, and the work you're doing on this podcast and in the world.
Oh, thank you. We enjoy getting into some fake rules. So tell me about, tell me about the fund and why it sits in that zone.
What I'll say is, the Black Freedom Fund was born out of the racial reckoning in 2020. So funders and community organizers, people like Casey Patterson with the Black Equity Collective, Ben McBride from Live Free California, Anthony Thigpen, who at the time was with Cali Cause, they came together with funders like Latifah Simon and Nicole Taylor and Fred Blackwell, Kathy Cha, and so many other tremendous leaders to really think about how philanthropy could have a different response to the moment. Because what mostly happens in philanthropy is that when there's a crisis, there's a wave of support. And when the news cameras turn away and when that crisis is no longer in the news cycle, the support recedes. And philanthropy needs to be able to sustain investment in organizations that are working on the issues that are at the center of these crises. Mm-hmm. And what was true for people who were at that table then was that they wanted to see philanthropy have a different relationship with the Black community, so that it wasn't episodic, so that it wasn't the relationship around investment wasn't happening in fits and starts, but that it was sustained and really helping organizations who are at the front line of advancing racial justice be able to do that work for the long term. Mm-hmm. And so the California Black Freedom Fund at that time was born as a special fund within Silicon Valley Community Foundation. Nicole Taylor, president and CEO of SVCF, volunteered to host it. And at the time, I don't think people thought, oh, this could be a new organization. But I think they thought, if we get traction and there's something here, then this can be transformative. And it certainly was. And, was established as a 5-year initiative seeking to raise $100 million and invest in grassroots organizations throughout the state. And here we are 5 years later. We've nearly met that goal of raising $100 million, and we've invested over $45 million in 200 plus organizations throughout California. So it's just a tremendous moment, watershed moment. This is a historic kind of asset transfer, a transfer of wealth to Black organizing and Black advocacy and activism. It's never before been documented in our country that an entity has done this kind of investment. And so we're really proud of that. And that's our foundation. That's who we are at our core. And so now we've transitioned to the Black Freedom Fund. We're an independent philanthropic organization. Mm-hmm. Our first day, our birthday, was July 1st. And so we're excited about stepping into this new phase. And we hope to raise more resources so that we can invest more in organizations that are doing this incredible work in our state and making our state and nation better.
Yeah. So what I love about the story is that, I think what came out of the period that you're talking about, 2020 to say 2023, there were a lot of pledges made. There were a lot of actions made to do more in the Black community, Black and brown community. And the narrative that's been written, which I know is a reality, but I want to be honest with you. I don't even think I've said this publicly before, but I've struggled with the narrative because I feel it challenges the good work of an organization like yours, and that is that the pledges were not met. And it is true that a lot of foundations did not step up to the degree that it sounded like they were going to, but a lot of foundations did step up, and a lot of very important developments came out of that period that have in many ways been integrated into how philanthropy operates today. And so I wonder, my question to you is, how do you work with that, given this incredible positive celebration we should have here for the Black Freedom Fund, while there is kind of this narrative out there, which is not wrong, that foundations backed away? How does that work for you? How do you work with that?
There's a saying, two things can be true.
Yeah.
And I think that in this case, there is a lot of that. What we know to be true is that in that period of 2020 to 2023, we really experienced the nation's largest protest movement in its history. More people were out in the streets, more people were up in arms, more people were frustrated with the way systemic injustice and racial inequity were playing out in our society and have played out over generations. And they made that known, and philanthropy followed suit. Mm-hmm. And I think now we've had a few instances where there are questions about where all of those people are, mm-hmm. Where that commitment is, things like the election, which show a clear division in our nation around values, begin to creep into the minds of some philanthropic institutions who were only there because of the societal opportunity or pressure, not necessarily for their own institution's mission and values and purpose. And so I think there's a outer rung of philanthropic entities that are much less focused on the mission of social justice, of racial justice, and are more see it as a tangential and related thing that they can either be connected to or not, and it's fine. And I think those folks are the folks who we are seeing walk away, step away, backtrack in certain instances, because they don't see this issue as core to their institution. Now, I do think that that is a false understanding of how these institutions came to be, how wealth is generated in this country, how it has been generated in this country, on the backs of who it's been generated, and what the obligation is for philanthropy to society. So I do think there is terrain in which we can engage in kind of principled struggle and debate and discussion around that, even if racial justice and social justice are not per se part of their mission explicitly. It has everything to do with what these institutions should be advancing in order to make society better.
Thank you for tuning in to Break Fake Rules. Subscribe to the Stupski Foundation YouTube channel to watch videos of each episode and join the conversation with me on LinkedIn.